technology. It took me a bit as well to be able to fully comprehend sometimes how Web3 affects some of the things that we do. Now, but before I go on, this is what I just described right now in terms of what our web looks like in Prembly, right? What we do KYB, which is know your business, we do KYC, know your customer, we do the anti-money laundering checks, we do screening. Today, we have one of the most robust business verification suite in the entire emerging market, Africa and Latin America. We also have a very robust biometrics technology where we're able to identify anyone across the market and compare with what you have in the government database, and check if this person's details is accurate and or is not, what's fraudulent and all that, before they have access to any global or local products and services. And for most of the regions that we target, we're licensed to be able to operate. Now, let me dive into how the big challenges around what we're doing, especially in this market. And I'll be talking more about African market this time around, not any other markets or even the entire more on African market. There's several reports, right? And you can make reference. There's several reports that, and I think my report actually came from African fraud landscape reports of 2022 that says that the financial total of fraudulent activities in the continents would exceed over $10 billion annually. Now, what this means is that what we lose as a people exceeds 10 billion annually. And out of this, by 2025, cybercrime alone would also cost us over $10.5 trillion. On the individual level, on the business level, and all that. But then there's something that is quite important that I really want to point out here. Is the fact that when you use the word fraud is so big. But then sometimes we need to narrow down to the type of frauds that are really, really really popular in our region. And there are just very few of them. One is pitching. And pitching is just when, I'm sure many of us have already received some of those emails. Receive an email, someone's trying to, steal your credentials, trying to steal your ID or your, debit cards, or try to steal your IDs to do whatever it is, right? Identity theft is just one of the biggest reasons why that number is that high. People using other people's details to do fraudulent activities. People taking their spouse's information, or their parents' information, or their kids' information, or their neighbor's information, whichever one. It seems I just saw resume sharing. Let me confirm, please, if you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see your screen. You're on the future of identity decentralization, right?
No, I've actually moved away from that. Let me see if I need to stop sharing. I'm going to stop sharing now, then I'm going to share back again. I think there was a live streaming that popped up and took it off. Do you confirm? Okay, great. Yeah, I think it's back. Cool. So, yeah. And these are the numbers that I was trying to I was on in terms of the market and some of the fraudulent activities that happened in the markets. Again, I wouldn't repeat myself because of the short time that I have. But it's a huge problem with us, right? But one thing I want to identify is the fact that on fraud activities in the continent, one of the biggest contributor to that factor is identity theft, pitching, and online shopping fraud, right? It's quite important. But that's what we're not talking about fraudulent activities here. And let me dive into the concept of digital identity, right? I'm sure many of us on the call right now, many of us would have heard the word digital identity, right? And sometimes what's digital identity? It's just quite simple. Just like what it means, it's a digital copy of the paper-based IDs that you own today, right? So if you own a driver's license, if you own international passport, if you own a voter's card, if you own a national ID document, just think about the digital form of those things, basically. So rather than you having to hold a document, physical document, rather than you having to go to a government agency to renew a document, you just been issued a digital version of it that can be easily managed online. That can easily be managed by, digital infrastructures. Basically, that's what we're talking about, right? Digital identity. And the conversation is, how can we move as a people and as a region from being heavily paper-based in terms of IDs to being more digital-based? Again, and this is, we're talking about times when we're talking about, climate change. We need to reduce the level of paper we're using. We're talking about a system paper-based that is not sustainable. We're talking about many of us right now, we have so many IDs, but we've misplaced them, right? And the only way you can retract some of the IDs is if you have to travel back or drive all the way to another government agency, queue, then they have to issue you another ID and all those things. It's a rigorous process. It's not sustainable. It's not something of the future, and we need to fix it, right? But that's the topic we're talking about today. But I also want to dive you into how digital identity is going to be managed today, especially for people that do not understand how it's managed. And I'm talking at this point because today we verify over millions of verification every single month today. And so we work very closely with data administrators, and we know how digital identities are managed. And so, like I said, the next few minutes, this particular minute is just to take us through, it's just an education side of things, right? I'm just been showing us some educative stuff on how digital identities are being managed. Now there's a concept called, and there are three things I would say here. The first one is a concept called a centralized system, right? And many countries in Africa today uses that. And a centralized system is when an administrator, so you have the data administrator or a government authority, but usually single authority is in charge and controls the ID, right? Or your digital ID. And this model is siloed on where systems are isolated from each other. So let's say, for instance, a concept of Nigeria, where you have the Nigerian Identity Management Commission, NIPSI, in charge of your NIN. It is quite different from the CBN managing your bank verification number. It's quite different from the immigration officers immigration officers managing the international passports. Literally, that is a centralized system, right? Where one government agency or private agency, let's say, for instance, in the case of credit bureau, many credit bureaus today are managed by private agencies. So let's say one private agency or one government agency or one authority is in charge of the IDs, right? And the downside of that is that you do not know what they have about you. You only know what has been issued to you, right? When those IDs are updated, well, agencies, data administrators claim the data are not tampered with, they're not updated without your consent. But the honest truth is, how far-fetched can we hold those words, right? And these are the limitations of centralized data. Now, let me say this. The unique problem we have in the market is trying to get so many countries to even move to centralized data. So we still have so many countries that are not yet even centralized data. Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, South Africa, Egypt, Rwanda, one of the top countries in the continent that have tried to move to centralized data. They even have a central system that manages our data, but it still has a huge level of limitations, right? But the second way also that some of our digital identities that we own today are being managed something called the federated style of managing digital identity, right? And pretty much what that means is, now a federated identity links a user's ID, which is your ID, right, across multiple identity management system. Now, to make it easy in terms of comprehension, imagine a imagine when you want to sign up into some platforms, right? And the apps gives you the option to sign up using Google, either your Google sign up or your Facebook sign up option. Basically, your social sign up IDs. That's literally what a federated ID system is, where the moment you sign up into a new system using Google or using any of the social media options, you've permitted the social media company to share your information with the owner of the new app that you're signing in. Now, when they share your ID with those ones, now the new app will utilize the data that has been shared and say, does this fit into our registration, sign-in, KYC process? If it does, then you come into the system. If it doesn't, then they tell you, sorry, failed, try something else. Now, a giant like a Google or a Facebook or any of the social media platform or a Microsoft are a perfect example of a federated digital identity system, where they know the apps that you're signing up in. They know the data you're sharing with them. Now, the moment you allow those folks to share your information, your digital identity information with another app, what you've done is to open a channel where these two apps now communicate with each other, right? These guys, if it's in the policy, can share your information with the federated folks, which are like Google, Microsoft, and all that. And at the same time, they also can share data. So basically, the shared data about you, about what you do on this app, without even your knowledge, right? Basically, that's what happens today. The good side is it makes sign up quite easy. Rather than you filling forms, 2-3 forms, all you have to do is just to sign up with a Google link or a social media link, and you're good, right? But the downside is the fact that your data are stored, your data are tracked, the third party sharing without you being aware, basically. And that's a downside of a federated system of digital identity. Now, before I continue, I have to take permission. I think I've spoken too much. I have just less than 30 seconds to go. I want to take permission from the host if I can add more minutes, because I have just a few more slides to go.
Ahead.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Now, and that's a federated system, right? Which is, again, there are only very few private players that play in that space. In fact, government agencies have not been able to tap into having a federated system. We have some countries in Africa that are already getting towards it. A perfect instance is the NIN system in Nigeria. So now, if you notice, for many people that, and I make a reference to Nigeria because hopefully we have a lot of people on the call from Nigeria. Now, if you notice that right now, if you go and update your international passport, NIN is requested. The banking space, NIN is requested. I need to confirm this detail, but I think also even in some some exam bodies, like JAM, I don't know if NIN is requested, but increasingly we're seeing the need to have a system where because when you do that, when you provide your NIN to another government agency, what you're doing is you're saying they can go and meet the National Identity Commission, get your details from them, and use your detail and provide that detail to the new government agency or the private firm, and use that information to do whatever they want to do with it. That's literally another example of a federated digital identity system. Again, there are only very few countries. I think Kenya is one of the countries that have really gotten to that level as well, where they're able to use a federated system to manage digital identity. But it has limitations, strong limitations, right? Now, for both centralized and federated system of digital identity, one of the biggest flaws that exists today is the fact that the owner of the data, which is you and I, the owner of the data do not have much power. You do not know where your data is. You don't know where it is stored. You don't know what is being done with it. You don't know if it's being tracked. When it is had, you don't know. You don't know which sharing what. Even though one consent is enough for you, one consent is enough to be once you give either under centralized or a federated system, once you give a consent, your data can be used millions of times because you've given just one consent. So it's a lot of consent for a lot of people in the industry to say, can we begin to talk about how individuals can own their IDs, permit who should have access to those IDs per time, and also manage and edit those IDs themselves. And that's where the concepts of a decentralized identity system came in. And that's the third way to manage digital identity. Now, let me say, it's a new concept. Maybe the concept is not new, but it's a new topic in the industry, and it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of education for people to understand and accept and admit it, right? I just also need to state that very clearly. But pretty much a decentralized system is almost an opposite of both centralized and federated, right? And I think I wrote some things already on that here, if either federated or, because today, for instance, as a business, we are big on centralization and federated, right? Where we help people verify their IDs and all that. But the honest truth also is that sometimes, because we're heavily reliant on different entities, government entities, it can be slow. And slow is relative. Today, we can do some verification within 30 seconds, some 1 second, some less than 1 second. But to some people, that's still too slow, right? So again, it can be very relative. But data bridges, your details being shared, fraud, fake credentials, these are part of the issues that a decentralized system is trying to solve. So just think about centralized system, think about federated system, and decentralized system is an opposite of it. Decentralized system means you are issued a digital ID once, and you own it. Then, if any other person, when you want to sign up to a platform, rather than you giving permission to any of the giants, social media giants and all that, you are the one that would relay your information just using either through a token or whatever it is, whatever technology you want to adopt. You're the one that will relay your information to the platform, not through any third party any longer. As against centralized system, where you have just one government authority being the one to manage your data, transfer your data, update your data. Now you can update your data yourself and manage it, right? After it has been issued by a government agency, right? But again, and this is my personal opinion, I think it's an evolving concept. I think it's noble in terms of giving people control. And I think it's the way to grow. As even one of the strongest players in the markets. But also, it's going to be a very huge learning process and learning curve for also. Now, very quickly, I think there are 2 countries in the world today that are already operating a decentralized digital identity system, and it works pretty much well. Estonia is one of those countries, and Estonia is one of those countries in the world that has really gone really far in digital identity. Almost 99%, and I need to be sure about that statistics. I think between 85 to 99% of Estonians have some form of digital identity. Now, that is huge. Globally, we have close to like 1 billion people that do not have any form of ID. 81% of that number stays in sub-Saharan Africa. So typically for most countries in Africa, we have people that do not even have any form of ID. So Estonia as a country has been leading, and they've proved that a decentralized system can work, right? Now, this is the strongest argument for a decentralized system of digital identity, which is when individuals, when myself and you, when they carry their personal information with them. Now, your digital identity is you, right? Then you have the power to share with whatever agency, whatever company that you deem fit, rather than, again, the last two ones, the centralized one or the federated one. Now, and this is me trying to make it as simple as we can get it. Now, what you have on your screen is basically the kind of IDs that I assigned to you as an individual. So to your left, you have, I call them your links, and you have, what you spend, utilities, how you spend, your data usage, your electricity, to your banking information, to your healthcare, to your employment and work information, to the government information about you, how you drive, your criminal records and all that, and also to your educational records, right? And literally what a decentralized system is saying is every of these things will be linked to one single credential that you own as an individual, right? And literally that would also be administered and managed by you as the end user, rather than you providing your NIN, for instance, to an individual, a government agency, or a company, right? And they having to now go and meet through links like us, through links like Prembly, now having to now go to the National Management Agency to now verify, then get the information back. They don't have to do that anymore. All they have to do is come to you directly. You own the data, you give them the credential, right? And they use the credential you've given them to bring you on board, right? Quite simple, straightforward. And you as an individual can also evoke the people that have access to your information and all that. And I think, as a person, I think that's what the future of digital management is. And a lot of technologies needs to be built, a lot of infrastructure needs to be built around it. A lot of education, again, needs to go into it. But even though today we're playing in the centralized and federated system, we strongly also believe that this is what kind of conversations we should be having. Now, but for us to make huge progress, and I'm rounding up real quick, for us to make huge progress in this, we need to have policymakers in the room. We need to have the issuers and verifiers of, the credentials in the room. And we also need to have infrastructure players in the room. So today, for instance, we have, currently today we sit in the issuer and verifying. We sit in the verifying space. Infrastructure providers today we have. We have another partner on the call here that will be talking about the infrastructure and also the issuing of it. But we also need to now begin to talk about bringing policymakers into the room, right, for them to see it, right? And but the infrastructure that the issuing one can be private sector driven. We can come into the market with more investment, but we also need policies to back some of those investments and see that it works. Now, thank you so much for listening. Again, I had a very short time, and thanks for the host for extending my time. I don't know if I can take one or two questions around the concept I've tried to explain, but I will leave these on the screen while I take any comment or questions. I don't know if there's a time, but I will leave this on the space in terms of the difference between a federated identity system and a decentralized system right into your right on the screen. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lanre. That was quite insightful. So my plan is actually to get people to put their questions together so that at the end of the call, right, we can dedicate the next 30 to 35 minutes to answering those questions, right? I want to believe that we have access to the chat, but so please let's drop our questions there. Lanre would be on the call to help us take all of the questions. Like for me, several things actually stand out. They stood out for me in the course of your presentation. I think for me, I am very, very heavily interested in the identity protection because leveraging on this technology means that my identity can be protected, and there's also a degree of control over how I can, release my information to be used. As a marketing executive, one of the things I know that we've had to battle, especially with regards to data, how data management, how data is being used, is the access that people want to give to brands to be able to reach out to them. They want to be able to say that, yes, I want you to promote to me. I don't want you to promote to me. And, you know, the ability to give the people the power up to the technology that is available and wanting to know how they can leverage on it. Because if we take the power away from them, then how do we want to encourage the adoption of this technology that we're talking about? And I also agree with the fact that policymakers need to begin to enter into the conversation. The private sector, the public sector needs to begin to create that bridge, right? I think for me, I believe that the onus is really lying on the private sector to begin to set the tone up to government agencies, not because we are relying of these technologies that we are talking about. On board, Nikhil. And another session, right? Let me share my screen a bit so I can give us a bit of understanding about who Nikhil is. Nikhil is one very passionate person that I love to engage. I love to talk to him. I love to talk with him. I love how he communicates his mind in the simplest way possible. I love I love his childlike heart, if I can say that. How he's so passionate about the African ecosystem. How he's so passionate about what is going on in the education sector. He's a founder and CEO of Beyond Imagination Technology. And he's also going to be talking to us about how can we leverage on the blockchain technology, how can we deploy it not necessarily restricted to the education sector, but then how can we deploy it to be able to still, you know, consider the you secure your digital material? How are you able to leverage on blockchain technology to do the you want to do with making yourself vulnerable, right? So we are going to be considering in Nikhil's session. So Nikhil, I would stop sharing session and you can unmute yourself, Nikhil.
Hi,
Nikhil.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, hi. Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody from different parts of the world. I'm from India. I'm Nikhil Goyal. I'm the founder, CEO of Beyond Imagination Technologies. We've made a we made a product called BitMemoir, which I will be introducing to everybody today. Thank you, Omo, for this opportunity. Thank you, Moa, and everybody else who's attending this webinar. A lot of passion towards solving real world problems using new and emerging technologies. We are not stuck to the idea of building something on blockchain, but we believe that the solution that we have built required a layer of blockchain for authenticity, for verification, for transparency and traceability. A lot of the world faces a large problem of fake documents and identity theft, which my friend before this spoke about. We actually have a product which is very simple to use. From issuance to receiving to verification is what we are trying to handle. And we are a tech development company. We make solutions for enterprises and government. We specialize in the usage of blockchain technology. And if I could say, we are one amongst many in the world, or one amongst few in the world, which is trying to use blockchain to solve real world problems. Happy to associate, happy to collaborate, happy to integrate, happy to chat and explore synergies. Getting to my 1 second, entire screen, share. Can you see this? Can we see a bit more screen?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, cool. Hi. So once again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for hearing me out. Bitmemor is a simple. Sorry. Am I good to go?
Yes, continue, please.
Okay. Bitmemor is a solution built using blockchain technology to fight the problem of fake documents and identity theft. We help people issue, store, verify, and retrieve documents. It could be important documents, it could be normal documents, it could be memories, and everything else. We want to create the largest ecosystem of verified documents and human credentials around the world. We are an NFT utility platform leveraging blockchain technology. In many sectors of the world that we see in today, we live in today, obviously I'll be showing you at a later stage how we are trying to solve problems. A very, very serious problem this is, fake documents, and in many ways it comes back to bite us in stupid ways. The largest scams on earth happen because of fake documents. The largest movement of people happens because of fake documents, and a lot of people who are truly right suffer because of the loss, or because they cannot find their identity and school and birth and credential documents. That is something very, very important for us to understand. What is an NFT? So basically, if you have a picture and if you can make thousands of copies of that, it becomes a fungible token. NFT is a non-fungible token. Let's keep it easy. Let's simplify. Let's not keep this jargons in our mind. The idea is to have a unique document or a unique picture, which is an NFT. We don't do crypto. We don't do. We want to use the underlying technology of blockchain for our solutions and for real world problem solving. And like a digital currency, which is a Bitcoin, NFT is unique in nature, and obviously it can be transferred from one place to the other. It represents ownership and proof of authenticity. It is built using smart contracts, and it's gaining popularity around the world. I'm sorry, I'm not deep diving into these because I'm assuming it's very important for us to understand the applicability and the adoption of it rather than understanding the jargons. Digital art could be one place where a lot of people want to stamp their authority or ownership. Virtual real assets, collectibles, virtual fashion and wearables, domain names. What is Bitmemor? Bitmemor does multiple things. We have we do something which is called NFT as a souvenir. For example, if you have a hotel, if you have a brand, you want to. So what we are doing with this is a couple of hotel brands are actually using NFT as a souvenir. They're putting out their brand name or the brand logo on top, clicking a picture with the guest and giving it to them as a souvenir, as a memorabilia. So the guest actually puts it out on Instagram and Facebook, and indirectly, the brand's logo also goes along with that, and both parties are happy. Non-custodial wallet. We have a blockchain wallet. It's live on Android and iOS. I would love it if you guys can download it, have a feel, and maybe even if you share the address, we would love to send you a welcome NFT. Digital credentials. We're working with the largest universities in Latin America. We want to do the same in Africa. Um, there are colleges that um, outside the college there is somebody who's making you become an engineer in $500, which which reduces the value of your credential, your degree or your diploma. So what happens is when you are issuing your degree and diploma using Bitmemo, the ownership as to who is the owner and who is the issuer, and the time stamping happens, which authenticates your document becoming an original, which actually makes a lot of value when you're moving around the world. Digital credentials can be from education, from sports, from extracurricular activities, from training certificates, and various other such stuff. Authentication and verification. You are telling me that this product is made from India. How do I know? Which is the how do I know it's authentic? It's authentically Indian. Uh, 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 Obviously, there is a packaging, and imagine if you had like a QR code or a unique hash code for that particular product, which could tell you where it was made and how it traveled. Fantastic. So these are the kinds of authentication and verification we're doing. A very large problem again is background check during hiring, which we solve in a click of a button. So hiring again has a large problem. Insurance claims have a large problem. Banking invoice uh, 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 discounting of invoices has a large problem. All of these problems can be solved using Bitmemo. NFT loyalty program. Everybody wants good customers, and they want their customers to keep coming back. We can help you build solutions around it. The application can be in identity verification, hospitality, education. Actually, I'll skip this because I would like to show you this. So it's the same thing. Uh, Again, education, hospitality, identity, precious jewelry, industries, medical, hospitality again. Uh, uh, when you, it's better we see this slide. So in events, there could be a proof of attendance, and there could be souvenirs that you take back home from events. You attend so many events in life, including today's, but you don't really get anything from that event to even for you to recollect as to how many events you attended. So we could possibly, Omo, this is an offer from my side. If you want to give digital certificates for this event, for attending this event, we are happy to give NFTs for this, so that people get a feel of what we are talking about.
Right.
So in employers, there is verification and vetting of credentials. Again, like I said, background check, training certificates, and everything that an employee does during his stay or her stay in an organization can actually be verified using Bitmemo. Education sector, your degrees, your diplomas, your micro credentials, best student award, best teacher award, all of this can be given here. Businesses, guarantee card, warranty card, very large business, again a very pain area for a lot of companies. Verified invoicing, banking and insurance, documentation, interdepartment memos, supply chain management. All of these areas is what we feel is very, very important. In the healthcare, all of us, I mean, like my fellow colleague talked about, not many countries even have centralized database management. I believe a lot of countries around Africa don't have medical history of each individual, which actually, so there's 15.5 million deaths that happen around the world because of wrong diagnosis. And wrong diagnosis happens because we don't know the medical history of the patient. These are the stuff that we can possibly avoid doing this. Also, you carry a medical passport along with you, which gives you the medical history of yourself and your family. Government, there could be driving licenses, passports, birth certificates, death certificates. Again, a lot of this is fake. It's very difficult to find out. I actually had a chat with somebody in Nigeria saying that even today in Nigeria, 80% don't have this document in the right manner, and even if you need it, you need to go back and find a register to sort of see if you are actually a citizen of Nigeria or not. It's in 2023, it's difficult to understand that such things still happen. Individuals, you could have multiple certificates and documents. You may be moving houses, there may be a flood, there may be an earthquake. I'm sure you will run for life and not run for your certificates. So a lot of certificates and documents are actually lost in this process, and it's very difficult to find them or to get them renewed from the issuing agency. So this could be a digital locker where you could save all of this. And hospitality. Why Bitmemo? It's number one, sustainable. We cut out on paper. Number two, it's ownership. You are the owner of your document. Unlike a centralized database management where the owner is actually the data center, ease and convenience. Over a click of a button, you take out your paper, you verify it, and you show the authenticity of that particular document. Lifetime storage, well, you save it once and you save it for life. Instant access and traceable. Traceable, why? The issuer and the time stamping. These are the two relevant data that comes along with the NFT that we issue. This is where we are present. We have Indian Army, which is our most prestigious client. We have multiple universities in Latin America. We've just launched ourselves in Saudi Arabia. We have a couple of hospitality brands, and we have a few events that we've done. Thank you so much for your time. I would love to answer your questions, love to show who we are, engage and actually do trials if anybody is interested, so that we can prove what we are talking is very important and very necessary for 2023. Just to end, European Union has mandated all its universities and corporates to look at verified credentials in a very serious manner. There are multiple places which is looking at this very, very seriously. So I think it's time that Africa rose up, forget about blockchain, forget about anything else. I think it's important that in 2023 we use the latest, most emerging technologies to solve such simple issues that still persist and exist in Africa, and we would love to be a part of that journey. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nikhil. Like I said, I really want I really want us to look beyond the fact that it seems like they are using their solution to explain some of these things that they are saying, because the reason why is because I really wanted certain things to be put into perspective, right? So that you can understand when we are talking about preservation, right, of documents, when we are talking about identity verification, when we are talking about identity theft, when we are talking about how devices can relate with themselves, even if they are not within the same location. When we are talking about how you can control how your information can be used as an organization, as an individual, I really wanted us to look at how these things are very, very relevant. And some of these things are things that we are not even aware of, right? If you go online to browse about them, the most of the things that you will see out there are still filtered, because I believe that the big leagues are still trying to, curb certain type of information to be accessible to people, and which is why we are trying to do all of our best to create avenues like this to get everyone sensitized about it. So you see the likes of Prembly, you see the likes of Beyond Imagination Technologies. They are giving their all to ensure that people are aware, organizations are aware what is obtainable for us. You're an individual, you want to move from Nigeria out to UK, and then you know that you forgot your document at home. That should not even be a problem, right? You are an organization and you want to engage with another organization in UK, and you do not have the financial capacity to send a representative of your organization to go over there to the UK to verify the organization. With Identitypass, you can just run it and see if you can do your KYB to be able to know and to verify if that organization is a real organization and if they are not under the radar of any agency that has flagged them for whatever corrupt practice that they might have done. Now, let me just keep. I'm already seeing a couple of persons dropping questions for me privately, but I would really want us to drop it in the public space, right, so that our speakers can pick them up, right? So the question section is open to us. Let me allow us to unmute ourselves. So let's feel free to unmute ourselves. So you feel free to ask your questions either as an organization or as an individual. Nikhil and Lanre, they are still here with us on the call. Okay, so someone here says, I have a question to Lanre. Oh God, this is much. The first is, despite the pros that comes with SSI, what would he say is the barrier towards its adoption and practicality in emerging markets? I don't know if you understand that, Lanre. Okay, let me please go ahead and mute yourself.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I was trying to unmute for a bit. Yeah, totally understand the question, and whoever asked the question, thanks for that. So and for most of the concepts, what we discussed, most of the concepts are really new for a lot of people, right? And that's why, conversations like this needs to continue. Educative materials like this needs to happen. More research needs to be done to really make this type of topic a mainstream topic, right? And so I understand it when some of the concepts are not easily understandable from the get-go, but I'll try to make it as simple as possible. So, and the SSI is basically the decentralized system, especially for those that the self-sovereign identity, right? Decentralized system. The adoption is something that's quite difficult to predict yet, because we're still in the early stages of the infrastructure and the technology build up. There's still going to be a strong need for investment in that space. There's a strong need of policy backing that needs to go forward from it. Digital identity as a topic has always been a conversation between a business and another business, and a business to government. There's always been that circle. Individuals have never been a part of that conversation. So typically today, if you go to any government agency to get your ID card, whatever ID card, it's not on the concept of you knowing that that ID card will be used for a digital business. It's simply because you got your driver's license because you don't want, the government, the security agency to stop you on the road while driving. You got your international passport because you want to travel. You got your national ID because the government mandated that you must have a national ID. You got your birth certificates, or you did a birth certificate for your child because it was a policy that was implemented by the hospital that you gave birth, that your child was giving birth to. So the concept of digital identity has never been a conversation with end users. But with the introduction of these new technologies, emerging technologies like the Web3 and blockchain, we're not changing the concept, we're not changing that, we're not introducing individual into the room to now say, rather than having just businesses like ours only speak with government agency, which are the sole administrator, or having a business speak to another business, like the big tech giants, why don't we have the actual owner of the data in the room? The only way we can have the actual owner of the data in the room is to have, a decentralized system where none of us, neither the business, nor the government administrators own the data and manages data. We can keep the data for storage purposes or for whatever purposes, but we give the power back to the end user, right? And so the end user determines who manages data, how the data is being used, and all that. Now, one last comment, just before I just one last comment on that question. And this is on how easy will it be for an average person to adopt technology? It will be as easy as when the average person sees the benefits in it and how it helps him or her have access to both local and global services. So when you want to apply to a school in Indonesia, in UK, in Canada, for instance, now you don't have to wait for your school to send your details. You, by yourself, you can already send your details to those schools, right? The moment an average person begins to see more benefits in managing their data, then the adoption will easily come in. But without that, to be very honest, it will be a very long conversation to have. I don't know if that answers the question, but if you need more clarification, I'm happy to do that.
Thank you very much. So I think you've actually answered the question, but maybe I should just read it again. Peradventure, there are areas that you did not touch. So the second question is, for the average layman, the mere concept of digital identity verification in itself is still new and still needs getting used to. What would you say is the potential of SSI widening the inclusivity gap, if there would be any? And how can this be minimized? That is, how can inclusivity be ensured?
So the concept of and thanks for that. Thanks for I think I missed the last year. I missed the last one. Now the I do not think, right, in my own personal opinion, that there's any inclusion gap in the conversation, right? I do not think there's any inclusive. I do not think either on the centralization one or the federated system there's any conversation about, and my understanding of inclusivity gap here is on the social cadre. Perhaps, except if the person that asks the question has a different opinion. My guess is that is on the social cadre of perhaps those that have access to technology and those that does not have access to technology, right? That level of inclusivity, not gender inclusivity or pay gap or whatever it is. My guess is that technology inclusivity. I think both the centralized, the federated system have actually solved that problem. I do not think there's a gap that exists today in the market. We're not even talking about if the identity system we have in African market today, if there's a conversation about gap. And I'm happy to get comments on that. So I do not think that's even a topic to start with in terms of how the SSI would really close the gap, because there's no gap to start with, right? But people go to the government agencies or people go to individuals, generate a digital identity for themselves. Nikhil already had a conversation around the amazing technology they're building, and I'm not sure the technology would work for anybody, right? Anybody can use technology. The only set of people that may have concerns would be perhaps those that that are not yet online, that do not have any form of, that cannot manage their digital identity themselves, that do not have any mobile phones or gadgets and all that to manage the activities of to manage their digital identity on a decentralized system. Those are the only people that may not, that may be excluded. Now, talking about this right now, now it seems now I'm getting the inclusivity gap into it. The inclusivity gap conversation now in that question. Okay, now I get it. The people that are not online yet. True. That's a very good question. The people that are not online yet will not be able to have access to their digital identity. And I think that's a conversation that we need to have. But I'm sure that, infrastructure builders like Nikhil and ourselves would have infrastructure builders like myself and Nikhil would, at some point while we continue to do research, because I think this topic is we still need to do more research on how to bring people that do not have access to, that are not even on the internet, can have access to Web3 technologies and all that. I do not think there's an answer yet on that. I think a lot of research still needs to be done. I think more players needs to come into the room to discuss on how we can solve that.
Okay, thank you. There's also another question to you, but I would pause on that. I would want Nikhil to help us with that question, especially on the note that you ended with. You build infrastructure, you engage with organizations. I know that I know to a large extent a bit of the conversation that Nikhil has with both private and public and government agencies. So how do you think that that bridge, right, can be achieved to be able to bring those who are, if it was the banking industry right now, we'll say the unbankable, right? Those who into the whole opportunity of financial inclusion and everything that we talk concept of digital verification, right? And protecting your identity online, your ability to be able to shift documents and still retaining ownership and all that. How do you think that can be bridged, Nikhil? You can unmute me, Nikhil.
Yeah. Omo, I'm saying, can you simplify the question a little? I'm a little lost.
Okay. Yeah. So how do you reduce the gap, right, that ensures inclusivity, especially for those who do not have access to digital technology?
Well, one question to everybody: do you use Google? I'm sure the answer is yes. Do you know what Google technology, what it uses? The answer is no. Do you really care what they use in the back end? I'm sure the answer is no, because what we like is we can put few words and we can reach out, we can get data from the world. That is how I see technology. I see technology from a standpoint of usability. Is my solution solving a problem? Is there a need for this solution? What Lanre and myself are talking about, do you really need a medical passport? Do you really need your medical details online? Do you really need your skills details online? Do you need to still try and prove who you are? Or can you actually take out your driving license and say, I'm a Nigerian? So I would like to believe that what we are talking about is the use and the application of technology. There is gap between have-nots and haves. I believe even the SDG goal says equal field for everybody. So let's start with having one solution that brings everybody together. All of us, we need to understand, if I have a skill for talking, I should, and if I have some certificates to prove that, I should be able to carry that to West Africa, to Nigeria, to Alaska, and prove through that particular document that this is what my skill set is. It's as simple as that. You have a passport which talks to you about being a citizen of a country, and that's how your travel history is captured. I'm saying there's so many people who are coming out with fake documents. Let's solve that problem in a very simple manner. So yeah, I don't know about the gap. I didn't understand the question well. But what I'm saying is, if there is a gap of need and if there is a problem, I think how to use the technology. What I understand is the question was more gap between using a technology and understanding how to use it. Us as technologists, we would love to simplify it and solve it. What the market needs to tell us is there a need? Is there a problem to solve? And if there is, we will simplify it to the best.
Okay, so I think if I am able to put together what yourself and Lanre is saying, is that for now, we may not have the answer, but we are ready to have that conversation, and research will be done to be able to solve that. Lanre, I think this question is for you. How can Web3 be used to build a strong defense against fraud in developing economies? This is not just restricted only to identity verification.
Okay, thanks. So Web3 against fraud. So first, I'll probably also let also let Nikhil also answer, pick up some of those, pick up an answer on this. So the concept of what some of the things that drive fraud, especially in emerging markets, some of the things that drive fraud, right? I think that Web3 technology has been able to some extent, not everything, but have some solutions to already, right? Now, when you look at the entire hierarchy, of fraud activities that happen in the continent today, we have the pitching, and the pitching is you sharing, or mistakenly, or knowingly sharing your details, right? And somebody using some falsified details or email or whatever it is to get your information, right? That's a huge cause of fraud. When you look at the fintech space and you talk about chargeback fraud, big fraud also that's happening is, again, what's called identity fraud as well. And these are like some of the top rated frauds that happen in the market today, especially in emerging markets. Now, what Web3 is literally doing is that, and at the basis of all this fraud, there's something that is really unique, is the fact that the other person somewhere else needs to have some level of information about you, or it needs to have your information, either your card information or your transactional information or your identity information, to be able to defraud you, right? The concepts of a decentralized system, using Web3 is the fact that even before I get there, typically that information, most times, and I can say this, most times, there's a 50% of the time, are not gotten from you as the card holder. They're gotten from a fintech app, for instance, that stored your card, right? And somehow the system, they were able to hack the system, and they got the information and they use the system in the dark web, basically. The other half, sometimes they get it from you directly because they kind of like clone a web page. You go there and you put your card information and they get it right. But another half is the fact that the data that your data is somewhere else, somebody else gets to it, either through hacking or through any other means, and gets it out. Now, the concept of Web3 and also the decentralized system is saying that rather than storing your data on third-party systems, rather than having somebody else own your data, rather than you having lots of data every single place, you have so many data, you have 100 passwords, you have over 100 IDs, there's so many information about you, right? You can have it all with you and in a more secured manner. And you can easily track 5 people have access to my information, 10 people have access to my educational information, 2 people have. You can easily track how those things are being used and who is using them per time. Now, do we need technologies? And I think Nikhil's team is really building something really interesting here. Do we need more technology to come in on that side of things? Yes. Do we need more consumer interfacing products where people can use to track their login sessions, track where their data are online, track who is using their data? Yes, we do need it. Nikhil, for instance, has mentioned how they've been able to work very closely around educational records, right? So, for instance, with the technology that they've built, you can know who is viewing your certificate. For instance, you can retract it. You can take it out from people. You can give people access to it. You can take it off. That literally reduces the need to have your ID stored in third-party apps or third-party systems that are prone to hacks or prone to attacks, right? So the basis of Web3 alone and the basis of decentralization of systems alone reduces so many fraud activities. But more tools still needs to be built. More consumer interfacing tools still needs to be built. Nikhil's team is working on education. We need somebody else building on that tool on other aspects, but using the concept of decentralization. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you very much. Nikhil, do you have anything to add to that? I know that I made mention of education, but I think I also know that Beyond Imaginations are also working on other sectors likewise. Do you want to speak to that? How can we avoid, I think we have the next 10 minutes, except we have someone else drop a question, and then we can call it a day.
I see a question saying, how can we download BitMemo? It's not something on Play Store. Bit Wallet is on Play Store. BitMemo is live on like your Google Chrome. So www.bitmemo.com. Rookie is the person. That's how you get there. And Bit Wallet is the wallet, non-custodial wallet, where the storage of these documents will happen, which you own and which you operate on. Talking about everything else, I think, guys, we are in 2023. Let's use technology to solve our problems. Fake documents happens to be a problem which is can sometimes become a menace. We are trying to solve that problem in a simple manner. The same problem exists in education. The same problem exists in banking, in insurance, in supply chain, in medical records, in different places. Wherever there is document today, a document. One second.
Okay, so I guess while we're waiting for Nikhil, is he back? Okay, let me.
I'm sorry. So yeah, so the idea is very simple, ladies and gentlemen. I think we have a problem. Let's solve it in a very simplistic manner, and happy to help you guys do that. I think what Lanre is doing, what Omo is doing to bring a community together to actually get to hear about such solutions is fantastic. And what we are trying to do is operate a tech company to spread our word and make it happen. So yeah, it'll be great. It'll be great to, number one, acknowledge the problem. If you acknowledge the problem, that's when you want to find a solution to it. And yeah, when you acknowledge the problem, then you feel and understand how large the problem is, and that's when such solutions, such products can help you solve that problem. So thank you for hearing us out.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nikhil. I just want to establish that beyond technologies and Identitypass are already looking at how we can be able to first synergize, right, to be able to ensure that the Nigerian ecosystem and also the African ecosystem can be able to leverage on all of the technology that they are sitting on, and they are already looking at how they can introduce it to the market to solve whatever problem and provide solution that we might have. Okay, before I wrap up this conversation, I know that I have a number of, I can see a number of us. I don't want to call names. If you're free to do that, do we have any question that we want to ask. Do we have any contribution? We have the next 8 minutes before we shut down this room, if I can use the word shut down. So you can raise up your hand so I can unmute you, or you can type something in the chat box. Do you have any question? And I must also say that Nikhil and Lanre are open to collaborations. Please, Bolaji, if you're on the call, feel free to drop the link in the chat. You could fill in that form. I would be glad to do an introduction and put the first foot forward for you so you can begin to engage them. I won't interfere with your conversation. So you can engage them to be able to look at how can my organization leverage on this technology. How do we take this conversation forward? So Bolaji, please help me drop the link in the chat so that whoever is interested in, speaking with Nikhil or with Lanre and their team privately can have that. So do we have any question? Let me see. All right, I don't think there's any question from anyone. In the absence of that, I want to believe that we've been able to consider quite extensively the various ways that we can leverage on the Web3 technology, from helping organization in the financial ecosystem with carrying out KYC, from helping them to also understand how to be compliant, right? Especially with policies from the government agency, that's how they use, right? And assess the data of the people that are engaging with them on their platform, to helping organization with improved transparency, even creating new opportunities, right? You realize that it's helping you to be able to break beyond borders such that you can engage with businesses outside of the ecosystem of your own locality where you operate from. So these are the things that we are beginning to see, right? Is breaking boundaries. You're creating new products, you are creating new service line simply because you can deploy whatever solution that you have on a technology that is making you have access to data without a third party asking you, what do you want to use this for? Or this is the extent to which you can use this data, right? This is something incredible that I believe that we can begin to consider as an organization. So like I said, in the absence of any question, please, let's feel free to fill in that form that has been dropped. And let me see, I'm seeing, I hope, is this a question? Let me see, someone just dropped. Okay, Timothy, sorry, let me unmute you. Okay, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, yes, good. It is evening in Nigeria here.
Good evening.
So this question is directed at Nikhil. Which is it's a pleasure. I mean, seeing you and learning about what you have been building in India. I have maximum respect for people building in the Web3 space. I'm a technologist, if I may say myself, right? And I have been proposing a lot of blockchain solutions for how remittance is done here in Nigeria, or let me say Africa, right? You know very well that just like India, Nigeria is very forward thinking in terms of adopting new technology. So we have a lot of fintechs, a lot of banks doing transfers and stuff like that. And me and some people have been talking about proposing how we can simplify and remove all the bottlenecks of transfers. For instance, I don't want to take your time. In Nigeria now, transactions fail very frequently. And this is mostly because of the fragmentation of technology. So now, in penetrating all these legacy-based industries, how have you been able to educate them, right? Because most of the problem is that education, the gatekeepers of these particular industries we are trying to provide these solutions for, right? Sometimes they don't even understand the technology you are bringing on board, right? Not to talk of helping them see the benefits. So is there a tip or is there a way you have been able to work in that space and able to educate people, I mean, the people in these industries on how best technology, especially blockchain, can help in removing all these bottlenecks? I don't know if my question is very clear. Yes.
It's very, very clear. Let me repeat your question. You are saying there is a lot of payment gateways in Nigeria, domestic as well as international, and they have a lot of problem in number one, reconciliation, number two, T plus 2, 3, 4, 5 settlements, uh, a lot of complaints, a lot of transactions getting cancelled. This is the financial sector there, and this is what you think you should be solving. Am I right, Timothy? Timothy, is this your question?
Okay. Yes, yes, you're very correct. Yes. Thank you.
Okay,
Yes, yes.
cool. So just 2 weeks back, I was sitting with the Central Bank of Saudi, and we were discussing the same problem. What we have proposed is an infrastructure layer with the likes, which the likes of JP Morgan and Citibank are talking about. So we want to develop it for them, where so there are various problems. First problem is silos. Everybody involved in this whole ecosystem is in silos. They are working in their little silo, and then there are many silos that need to cooperate with each other for this to happen. One. Number two, there are many toll or many hurdles, intermediaries, which makes the whole process more expensive and more time taking. Two. Three, because of so many people involved, whereas the transaction could be as small as one. Is Nira, Omo, is Nira the currency there?
Yes.
So even
Naira,
if the
yes.
even if the transaction is 1 naira, even if it is 100,000 naira, everybody is involved in the whole transaction, whereas it is not required. So what we have proposed to them is a blockchain layer where the central bank or the regulatory will be the watchdog. Everything will be transparent. We will remove all the intermediaries. If somebody gives a command here, everybody gets to know that there is a command that is given, and there is flow of information and flow of money in a manner where I have a presentation ready for this. Actually, I've just given this 2 weeks back. So what happens is we remove intermediaries, we remove time, we remove cost, we do automatic reconciliation using blockchain technology, make the whole process so smooth, and we keep the regulatory or the central bank as the watchdog, as the final authority to hold back on anything that they want. So this will reduce the time, this will reduce the efforts, this will reduce the cost, this will reduce the human intervention and the human mistakes that is possibly happening today using the regular technology. Happy to discuss more on this.
Thank you so much.
Timothy, I hope I have addressed your question or your concern.
You can unmute yourself. I don't know. Okay, he said yes. So I think his network is on.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much. You hit the nail on the head. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. I'll connect with you later.
Thank you.
Okay, so please feel free to fill in the form. So those are the so it makes the coordination of the entire data very easy. So aside from Timothy, do we have any other question? I know we are way behind. We should have ended this conversation in 5 minutes ago. All right, so I don't think there's any other question anymore. The only thing I would say is that there are a whole lot of opportunities for us. When we talk about legacy-based institutions, we're talking about banks, insurance companies, telecoms, retail companies. You know, every one of them, there is something that can be done, right, to help ease all of those friction that makes people uncomfortable giving them direct access to them, right? And these are the things that we are looking to solve, right? Okay, Nikhil, you're raising up
All
your
I want
hand.
to say is thank you so much, Timothy, for bringing a different concept here. I am assuming that the 12 participants that are here because they are interested either in blockchain technology or interested in solving problems. All I would request is don't be shy, don't be afraid. You don't be, if you think there is a problem that you think you can solve and you have the right access to the decision makers to do that, be it a private or a government concern, please reach out to OMO, bring about your problem like how Timothy brought about. Maybe we are already working on it. Maybe we already have a solution around it. And it's okay to be wrong. Maybe we will ideate and solve it together. So thank you so much, Timothy. We have been talking of a different problem and he brought about a different problem. But 2 weeks back, I was discussing the same problem with the central bank of a different country. So all I can say is think. Let's be problem solvers. Omo and I'm always there on your side to actually make it happen. Thank you. That's why I raised my hands. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So Larry, do you have any final words? Because that was where I was going to go to before. Nikhil has already given us his final words. Any final words from you, Larry, if you're still on the call? I don't think so. So thank you everyone. Thank you everyone. You can be sure that you will get the recording of this session. And personally, I would stretch forth my hand to still engage with some of us one-on-one so that we can take this conversation forward. Like you said, don't be scared of asking your questions. Don't be scared of making it open to us, right? Okay, Lanre is here. Lanre, do you have any final words for everyone before we call it a day?
No, not from yet. Thank you so much for everyone that was able to join. And just like myself, right? And this is quite funny because I said I had no comments, but just like myself, sometimes the concept and the new technologies can be confusing a lot. I just feel I would just want to say that it's fine to not understand many of the concepts. But the least we can do is to be resistant to it, right? Let's always try to say we can do more research and understand how this will help us and have a direct impact on the average person that live on the continent. Yeah, pretty much. Thanks.
And you said you don't have anything. Amazing.
I know, right?
That's what happens when you have thinkers in the room, right? So let's be thinkers, let's be problem solvers, let's be willing to synergize together. Like one thing I am a very, very big fan of is partnership. I really so wish that we have sandboxes where different organizations can come together. There's an idea that needs to, that can solve a solution. Putting away that thing is, this is my own, that is my own, but saying let's solve something together that can become a deal breaker, right? Or for whatever it is that is attacking us as an entity, as humanity. For me, I think that's the way that we should be looking at right now. So whether you are a Nigerian or you are an Indian, or you are in Canada or you are in Australia, it does not really matter, right? And that's what the blockchain ecosystem is bringing to us, saying that this platform, there's no identity here. This platform, there is no restrictions here, right? You are free to do what you have to do, provided that it is providing and delivering solution, it is delivering value. So once again, this very webinar is brought to you by Virtual Domain. And like I said, what we do is that we support organizations to launch, to grow, and to develop. So I'll be closing the room in the next 3 to 5 seconds. So let's feel free to exit. And like I said, feel free to fill in the form if you think that you want to have a one-on-one conversation with any of the brands that are here on this call. That's why they are here, to answer your questions, to brainstorm with you, to solve the problem together, and making their technology and infrastructure accessible to you. Thank you so much, everyone. It's so nice to have us here. Let's have a wonderful evening and have a wonderful day wherever it is that you're joining us from.
Bye-bye.
Bye.